This one hurts a little. Looking over what we're spending on the car and where I spent more than actually $25,000 on a 30-year-old Subaru that originally cost me $400. I don't regret it, but looking over the numbers, it is a lot. We'll start with the motor first. We'll go through each individual section, if you will: engine, motor, transmission, the suspension, the brakes, the interior, the exterior, and kind of break it down semi-fast just so we can kind of, because there's a lot. But I'll post the numbers on the screen so you can kind of do the math with me and see. Maybe you don't want to spend this kind of money on in certain areas where I spent money. Maybe some things are more important than others. Obviously, being a track build, had to deviate quite a bit and spent more money in some spots I thought I spent less money in, specifically the motor area. But we'll go into that now. So first thing, the engine. Version 8 JDM EJ207. This revs out to 8,000 RPMs. It's just a great motor. Supposedly, it has 60,000 miles on it. Most people who sell these JDM motors always say that. Could have more, could have less, probably more. But took it apart, replaced the head gaskets, did ARP head studs, did all the gaskets, all the seals have been replaced. After it cost me $6,000, came with a 6-speed transmission. So I actually have a spare because I had one before. We'll go into that briefly maybe, but it cost me $6,000, and then everything I had to do to it, seals, studs, and all that, were about $1,000. So $7,000 just to get the motor into the car. That doesn't include any modifications to it, just the $7,000. So start off $7,000 right there. Inlet/intake, $150. Front mount intercooler, $500. Injector dynamics, 1300cc injectors. I'm running E85, need a lot of fuel, $500. Aeromotive FPR, $200. AEM 340 fuel pump, about $100. Then for speed density, I'm running the 4-bar map sensor from Cobb and the AEM air intake temperature sensor that's in the front mount pipe. That combined was about $200. Then we have the exhaust. This is a twin scroll turbo, so it's kind of hard to find a downpipe that attaches to that hot side. And then I have a titanium Tomei exhaust, which can get pricey, but both of those pieces I found used, and combined they were $600. The turbo, you can see my other videos, turbo is a VF37, but it has been modified to where it is capable of holding boost a lot longer, higher a lot longer, so about 20 PSI, all the way to redline. It is a VF37 with a G25 compressor wheel and turbine just as a whole. Just think of the internals as a whole have been replaced. We'll link another video here to show you if you want to see how I got about 420 horsepower out of the VF series turbo. HKS blow-off valve, $200. Grimspeed electronic boost controller, $100. Koyo radiator and fans. It's hard to find this Koyo radiator for the GC. I had to wait 6 weeks for it to get it shipped to me. Fans, really good spa fans, so it's $600 for that combo. And then finally, the IEG aerial separator, which is about $300. You want to do that just for longevity's sake. So on the engine, what did we spend? This is sadly, and I will spoiler alert a little bit on this. This was what I spent the most on, was the engine, and it worked out to right around $11,000 to get everything up and running. Granted, again, we built things up to make sure that we had it was ready for the track, right? Little things here or there. Minor things we talked about, just getting the motor ready. So I didn't include like the pickup, the oil baffling, things of that sort. But yeah, around $11,000 just to get everything up and running for the track, around a 420 horsepower. We'll say 400. We'll say around 400 horsepower. All right, so next we'll go with, I guess I'll go with the transmission because that's kind of, so we already said I have an extra transmission. I'm not including that in any of the, I mean, I included it in the price of the motor, but I'm not going to sell. I'm just going to keep that off to the side. So that won't really be included. The transmission that I did have on there already was the same transmission. Actually, it was a version 8 JDM 6-speed transmission with Brimbos, the diff, the subframe, axles, everything the hubs, everything to make it work 5x114 on this car. I got for $8,000. That was via JDM Racing Motors. I bought it specifically through a vendor because A, I wanted a JDM one, and B, I wanted a warranty with it. So you can buy used ones elsewhere, but you're not gonna get a warranty. So, and it came with everything. So $8,000 for that. The clutch, which is an ACT, the HDXT, I think, clutch, or the XT HD, handles around 500 foot-pounds of torque. That was $600. Excetti flywheel, that's a lightweight one. I think it's around 11 pounds. That was $200. And then the Cobb short shifter with all the bushings that are associated with the shifter and anything that connects to the shifter were about $200. So total for the transmission, we're looking at $9,000 right now. So $11,000 for the $9,000 for the transmission. We're already looking at $20K. This is on a $400 car to be. Then we'll go to the brakes here. The brakes, the Brembos obviously came with the transmission, but so we're not including those. But stainless steel lines, 150 Hawk pads. I have the HP Plus pads, I believe. So they're not the best pads. I'm going to upgrade those for the in the off season here when the truck season starts. But those were $200, and then I just have centric blank rotors for about $300. Last thing for the brakes, which I had to install video on, was the ABS delete and brake booster delete. You'll notice in the engine bay, the ABS unit is gone. The brake booster is gone as well, obviously, and the lines associated with it. That saved me about 30 pounds up front. But the bigger thing is it allowed like better modulation for the brake pedal. You're going to need to pump more. It's not preventing the locking the brakes like it would before. You have to do that. And also it's easier to kind of heel toe. You can give it a little bit more. You have very little play, or I thought I had very little play with the brake booster. It was doing a lot for me. Power brakes have now been taken away. So probably one of my favorite mods too. We're looking at, for the brakes as a whole, $1,250. So $1,250. Not too bad there. We will be adding more money to that section shortly though. And then we'll go with the suspension. So first we have BCVR coilovers. BC coilovers aren't terrible, but they aren't great for the track. I'm going to be upgrading those. This and the brakes is my next step. But BCVR coilovers, $1,200, brand new. STI control arms. These are I already had kind of the GD underneath, if you will, but this was to complete the GD under. So everything is STI, if you will, underneath the car, everywhere on the car. Those were $400, brand new, to kind of widen the track. One of my favorite mods, the 2015 STI steering rack. This was brand new from Subaru, about $800. You can get those to work inside the GCs here. It's just kind of difficult. It wasn't fun to get to work, but man, is it so much quicker. Again, you really feel that. A great mod to 2015 STI steering rack. That was $800. Then we have sway bars. So I believe 23. So these are adjustable. But I have 23 or 24 millimeter sways on the front with end links and so on, and then 22 rear end links, or 22 millimeter rear sway bar with end links. Both are adjustable. I have the rear on the stiffest setting and the front on the softest setting, so it kind of cancels out. So they're both about the same. It's about a neutral kind of feel there. That was about $500 just for all that setup. Then we have just various bushings and kind of kits. We have the rear lockdown kit, the rear bushing stiffer kit, clunk killer, if you know what I'm talking about there. The outrigger bushings, just every bushing is either brand new OEM or upgraded from OEM. $400 for all that. And then the wheels and tires, which we'll show here, the ones that I'm about to get, are the ones I have on there. I'm not really including those in the price. I'm trying to keep the price as low as possible. RPF ones, which I got used for about $600, and the tires are going to be about $600 or $700. I'm going with Bridgestone RE71 RSs. So that grand total was about $4,500 for the suspension. So we're looking at there. Just two more, I promise. We're almost done. Exterior. The exterior, so we have carbon fiber hood. That was $300 used. I have a video on how I restored that. CF trunk with the RB5 wing. Both are carbon fiber. That was $500. Kind of hard to come by, the trunk and the wing. I got a real deal on that used. CF mirrors, again, those were used. $200. Not really a big weight savings, but they are aerodynamic and I think look pretty cool. CF grill, which I'll show a picture of here. I just got this in. This was brand new, eBay kind of thing. 150, save a little bit, and also gives me more air pushed in via the radiator right there. That was about 150 bucks. Then we have JDM taillights, which I bought brand new from the dealer. You can still buy JDM taillights for these older GCs for like 250 bucks. So don't buy those used, or buy them cheaply used if you do have to buy them used. And so JDM taillights, and then these eBay lights and just lights in general, everything added up, $400. Front bumper, still bought this from the factory as well. That was $200 brand new. The rear bumper is a JDM rear bumper. It's kind of hard to come by. I had to get it shipped over here. That was $300 with the spats included. Side skirts, $100. And then the front lip, which was an eBay special, a little bit more aerodynamic, but whatever. It's more of a looks thing. I'm not going to lie to you there. That's $100. And then the color, the beautiful color that I love here. I painted this thing beautiful myself. This is $200 for the Plasti Dip. I had the sprayer and everything of Plasti Dip cars before. So this is tactical green here, Plasti Dip that I painted about 2 years ago and still looks great. So the total for the exterior, I'm glad I didn't spend too much here because it's not a big deal really to me. $2,450 total for the exterior. And then finally the interior. So interior shots here. This includes safety stuff that you're just going to need to track, or advise that you have to track it. Sparco seat, $700 brand new. It's an Evo seat. NRG seat, purple one for my wife. Try to get her to like getting in the car more. She's not going to go with me on the track. This is not an FIA rated seat. This is more for driving around town. Just like she doesn't even have a harness. We keep the 3-point there for her just to make it more comfortable. She doesn't have to worry about hitting her head on a steering wheel. So it's a little bit easier, safer for her on that side. That was $300. The roll bar, which I need for the harness and for just more rigidity, $800. And then the harness that I use, the Sparco harness, is $200. Then you'll see all the gauges here. Air fuel gauge, the ethanol content gauge, boost gauge, oil pressure gauge, coolant temperature gauge, tire pressure monitoring, and the voltage gauge. All of that, I just totaled that all up around $1,000 for all that monitoring. You're going to need that. You want a gauge that is going to alert you as well, not just a gauge that you have to stare at, one that'll beep at you when it sets a certain parameter, when it sets off certain parameters. Very important. So the total for the interior, I mean, I stripped stuff out, but it didn't cost me any money, was $3,000. And that, if we add all of this up, this doesn't include stuff that I can use on other cars as well. I mean, I'm not going to really use it for other cars, but like a helmet is pretty expensive. A Hans device is pretty expensive. Those alone, I think, cost me like $700. But then, I mean, I'm going to say I can use another car. I'm really going to use it. I didn't include those in the price. I'm not including parts that I sold as well. This was originally WRX swapped, and then obviously I upgraded it massively from that. I mean, I WRX swapped it, and then I did more stuff on top. So I'm not including the parts that I sold or anything like that. I'm just including, you know, if you started and it was a bare car and you just were throwing this stuff in, how much would it cost, right? The total came out to $31,000. So I said $25K in the video, but maybe it was selling stuff. Could have been that. Maybe it was around $25K. So we're at $31,000. $31,400, or more rounded up, $31,500 if you include the price of the car in general. So you can get a new car for $31,500. Will it be like this? Will it be a kind of a guttural, like bare analog track machine experience? I don't think so. And also, you didn't build it yourself, right? It's not yours. You didn't modify it. Somebody else did it for you. So I definitely no regrets. I can't think of a time that I've gotten in this car and it didn't put a smile on my face, like just driving it. Like the track just felt like it's home. It's just, it's just been an amazing time modifying it and driving. Just a great time. So looking at this much money and looking at where I spent stuff, if I had to do it again, would I spend money differently elsewhere? Looking at these numbers, I definitely would. And I already said a little bit of this. The brakes, the brake pads and the rotors, I'm going to update. Brimbos are sufficient for the track, but you can go with updated calipers too. I think the Brimbos will suffice for now, but definitely like a 2-piece rotor, not necessary, but at least a racier pad. I'm definitely going to go with a racier pad. And then the suspension. The suspension is in really good shape. There are a few things that I could update from an OEM, STI OEM setup, which is still a major upgrade for this car, to just aftermarket. But the biggest thing I think is the VCBR coilovers. I'm going to go with RCE Tarmac 2s, like a $3,000 coilover. But you can adjust the rebound and the there's a lot of adjustment that comes with that, and a higher spring rate, and just in general, just a better all around coilover. So if I were to do it again, I would probably spend first a little bit more money on the suspension and brakes. Like that would be, because this is a track build. The motor, I spent a lot, but I don't think that anything I did was kind of unnecessary. I think everything that I rattled off, besides, of course, the thing that's going to probably steal your eye immediately is because it's shiny and silver, is the blow off. It's not needed. It's more of a noisemaker. Don't really need that, and you can't even run it on math based cars. I'm lucky this is speed density, so it doesn't really affect my tune at all. Yeah, I wouldn't. That would be one thing that I would take out. But either way, most of the stuff was longevity, or just to get me to that level safely, to where I wasn't like just hitting a number and like maxing everything out to do that. So I like where the money's been spent. Obviously, I'm going to miss some stuff here. You'll probably see some stuff as I show the car off here that I missed in these prices. I can already see the strut bars. I missed those, but they were cheap, like 30 or 40 bucks used. I have front and rear strut bars, and I mean those aren't really huge modifications, and some bracings here or there, but $31,000. I wouldn't change it. I literally would. I'd add to this, but I really wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't take anything away. This was just awesome. So, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.